Hello everyone, I'm Dalen from Machinewise, and today we're going to be going over the disassembly, maintenance, and assembly of our Chanwich products like our Seraph and our Opus. Quick disclaimer. If you're experiencing an extreme amount of tap or play after lubricating your pivots and fully tightening your balisong screws, or it locks up when fully tightened, please consider sending the product to us for a free warranty repair. Please do not disassemble your balisong unless you have an in-depth knowledge of the process and the parts a balisong uses. Various parts of our products can be damaged if you don't know how to properly maintain them. Now, on with the video. Okay, required tools. T10. And either a pivot needle or something that you have that fits through the pivots to push your pivots out. So we'll take the weights out, and to do that, you want to take off the pivot screw on one side, and then the weight screw slash secondary handle screw. So screws out, push the pivot needle through to get the pivot out. Take that off. So when you have the handle off, you want to be very mindful what direction the washers are facing right now. So I'll take this washer and I'll put it with the side that was towards the blade up, and I'll do it on the other one as well. So that was the side towards the blade. I'll put that one up, and then the bushing will usually fall out, or you can just push it out. So bushing over there. Now from here, there's already a weight in there, and there's a Zen pin in here, so you can't usually just pull the handles completely apart. It takes just a little bit of coaxing on either side, wiggling it back and forth. And there goes the handle. Take out the other pivot. So to get the weights out, if you just try to pull them out, oftentimes they won't come out and they'll get kicked up at an angle like that. We don't want to take pliers or anything from here and try to pull it out. That'll just damage everything. So what we want to do is we want to push it back in until it clicks, turn it over, and then just tap it out really lightly. It should come out every time. There's our lightweight. We'll go ahead and throw a heavyweight in if you feel so inclined. Push it down until it kind of clicks. Just put the two handle halves back together. On the Opus, you want to give a little push right here where the two grooves are. So one handle has a kind of tongue on one side and a groove on the other, and then a groove on one side and a tongue on the other. Those are for handle alignment. So once you get it back together, just give it a nice little push there. Just make sure that they're seated in together. I like to have the handles together so I can see which side the pivots have to come from, because I like having the screws on the logo side. That's our preference. You can do whatever you want. So pivot will go through this side. Do feel inclined to give it a good tightening. Just make sure however tight you make it, you're strong enough to unscrew it again without stripping it. So before I put it all back together, I like to clean off all the old oil, take a look at, the washers, make sure everything's looking okay. All of our knives now are on hardened washers, so they should last you basically a lifetime, which is really nice. Here we have the hardened stainless washers, which is what we use in all of our products now, versus the phosphor bronze washers that have been the industry standard on balisongs for probably a very, very long time. You'll notice all of our knives come shipped with these stainless washers installed, and they also have a second set of the phosphor bronze washers in the box in case you feel like you want to use those instead. Those are really just included now as a backup set of washers if maybe you took it apart and you lost a washer, or if you just prefer the phosphor bronze washers for whatever reason. And the primary difference between these, so phosphor bronze washers are the primary wear item in the pivot assembly on any balisong. And by that, primarily it's every time you tighten it down, because the phosphor bronze is softer than the bushings. When you go to crank down your pivots, you're pushing the washers over the bushing and it's seating that bushing into it, and it makes a little seat ring in there. And what that does is that's basically mimicking the same thing as if your bushing was shorter. So eventually that can cause bind if you crank it too much, or the opposite way is the outer ring can start wearing down, resulting in more play. The hardened stainless washers are significantly harder than the bushing material, so the bushings can't seat into it, meaning that you'll pretty much never have to replace them upon like disassembly and reassembly, since you don't have to worry about getting the bushing to line back up in that seat. They won't wear as they rub against your blade nearly as much as the phosphor bronze washers will. And after over a year of extensive testing, they also do not really wear out your blade any faster than phosphor bronze washers do as well. I'm pretty confident in saying that you could have a tune last minimum 5 years of heavy abuse as long as you maintain it properly on the stainless steel washers. With any of our current products that have shipped with hardened stainless washers, if you are disassembling for whatever reason and you're going to reassemble, definitely make sure to use the same hardened stainless washers. Do not feel like you have to swap them out with new ones or phosphor bronze. your best bet is to keep using the same hardened steel washers. With the hardened steel washers, they're much harder to tell which side is the correct side to go up against the blade. Fortunately, if you've been flipping it at all before taking it apart, there will be wear that shows up on the washer surface. That's very normal wear, and that's not wear that you have to worry about. Like that's just, that's gonna happen, and it won't last any less amount of time if it looks like it has wear on it. Totally fine. But you can use that as an indicator to know which side goes towards the blade. So on this one, the side with the shiny rings, the wear, versus the side that is fresh, you want the wear side to go towards the blade. And my personal preference is to put both washers on and pinch it, and then slide the handle over, and then run the pivot needle through it. Pivot back in. And then when putting these screws in, so these are very fine pitch screws. That's one thing that we do a little bit differently, is we use what's called 664 threads. So that's 64 threads on this screw every inch. It's twice the thread density, basically, as 632, which is the usual standard. These allow you to tighten it more, and it also keeps them from backing out nearly as much. So that's why we don't use Loctite. They don't do the back out thing nearly as much because better thread. 664 good, thread lock bad, Dalen out. When reassembling, we do not recommend that you use Loctite specifically on the end pivots. We don't recommend it really anywhere, but if you do want to use Loctite specifically on the pivot area, that is okay. The reason you don't want to use it on the end pivots is we do not have T10s on our pivot screws. So if this gets locked together with Loctite, you have really no course to get this screw out. Whereas if it's up on the pivot area, you can squeeze it to get grip on the pivots to get the screws out still. So in general, we do not recommend using Loctite at all with our products. The final step is to get the pivot screw back in, so we'll throw it in. And then before tightening it down, because these are really fine pitch threads, sometimes it can be difficult to get them to engage. So I'll put pressure downwards, light pressure, and I'll turn it as if I'm unscrewing it until there's a click. And that means that the threads have kind of fallen into place, and now you can screw it down regularly. Get it snug, just until it's snug, and then give it one final mild strength tighten, like that. Now this should last a very long time. So now that it is tight, it's still dry. Some play will be normal at this stage because there's no oil in there to absorb any of it. There should never be tap at this stage, but there will be just the smallest amount of play. And from here, we will give it some oil. Just one drop of your preferred oil will work. And then I just work in the oil. And now we are golden. So now that it is together and lubed, everything should be functioning properly. The way that we normally do our tune QC process is to check a few different ways that it swings to look for any kind of stickiness or binding. The most common way that we do first is just a standard swing test. You wanna make sure that it's not stopping at any given point. The next one we'll do is a horizontal swing test. So we just let it roll all the way through with it mostly horizontal. This is a really good teller for a good tune versus not, because oftentimes a lot of tunes will go and stop somewhere. So it should just swing all the way through. I'll check it on the other side as well, because this is checking the friction on the washers to the blade. So you want to do both sides. So that's good. And then my final check, and this is completely a feel thing, but we do an ice pick sound test, funny enough. And the way you can tell is you'll feel restriction on the handle. It's not so much about the sound, but the restriction as the handle's coming down and going back up. But also the sound. Oh. If for whatever reason you are now fully assembled, it's all lubed up, and you do have some bind somewhere, or something just doesn't feel the way it did before, more play, tap, something along those lines, the first thing I recommend doing is just taking it apart and checking specifically the orientation of the washers. You really want to make sure that the side that had the wear on it went towards the blade. And if that is all checking out good, then we do offer lifetime support and warranties on our products. If you have a tune that has gone weird or you can't seem to solve it, please feel free to hit us up, email or Instagram, and we will make sure you're taken care of.